there it is, what is still to this day the best GTA game. And why exactly is this? Well, to start this review off, we have the story for this game. And the story of the game starts in the year 1992, as we follow the main character Carl Johnson, or CJ for short, as he returns to San Andreas to bury his mom, as she was recently killed by a rival gang. And because of this, Carl finds himself right back in the gang life that he tried to get away from. But upon returning to the Grove Street Families, which is the gang's name, he finds that it's nowhere near as powerful as it used to be, and is like on the verge of collapse. So in the name of protecting his family and friends, he decides to build the gang back up. But I will say that is not the sole reason he is once again stuck in Los Santos, since as soon as he was dropped off at the airport, he was picked up by a couple of corrupt cops, who are willing to frame him for murder unless he does what they say. And well, that just about sums up the whole situation Carl finds himself at the beginning of the game, which is where I'm going to stop because San Andreas is a very long game, with many twists and turns throughout the story that I don't really want to get into, so I don't spoil the game for the 5 people who haven't played it yet. So now we'll move on to the gameplay. And well, this being a GTA game means that there's mainly 2 ways to play it. The first of which is to do the game's missions, all of them having different objectives within them. Like in the early missions, it's all about the gang stuff, like chasing them, shooting them down, and even like covering up their spray tags. But as the game goes on, the more diverse these missions become. Like for some examples, you'll be participating in several street races, stealthily robbing someone's home, trying to intimidate someone through scare tactics, and then there's even like the missions that are like off the wall bonkers, like participating in an entire toy war, or infiltrating a secret military base to get a jetpack, and then using said jetpack to steal alien green goo. Although I definitely gotta say that my personal favorite is when you start working for a government agent yourself. Anyway, that wraps up the one way to play, now for the other, which is just pure unadulterated classic GTA action, where you try to kill as many civilians and police as possible before they take you down, whether that rampage be through you getting a tank or maybe using cheat codes to spawn in a bunch of weapons to use. Now that does cover the 2 main broad strokes of how to play this game. There is still much more to be unearthed in between the 2, since this world is so big and there's so much to do in it, such as looking for collectibles, doing side missions, customizing your character, whether it be through the many different clothing options, or going to the gym to make him more buff, or going to a burger joint to make him more fat. And then there's even more stuff like going to the shooting range or betting on horse races. Yeah, no, there is a lot to do in this game, but I don't want to get into it that deep, so I'm going to stop right here. Anyway, that covers the gameplay. Now to move on to the graphics. And the cliche thing to say here is that although the graphics haven't aged that well, they were probably mind-blowing and cutting-edge for the time when this game came out. Except, no, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, the game looks perfectly fine, it's just that when you compare it to like other games that came out in 2004, it kinda really falls short. But I mean, I get it, there's so much of a world going on that they needed to down the graphics in order for it to all be happening at once. Especially when you realize that this was originally meant to play on something as weak as a PS2. But in the end, under-par graphics aren't a deal breaker with this game. But anyway, now on to the music. And of course, this being a GTA game, virtually all of it is going to be licensed music. But of course, that's not without a couple exceptions, those being the themes that play over the intro and the credits. And them being basically the same thing, I'm gonna speak for both of them at once. And well, they're, I would argue honestly, probably the most iconic GTA themes of the whole series. And well, that's because Rockstar did a fantastic job encapsulating the early 90s gangster theme within this song. And because of that, it's basically been ingrained into like every gamer's head. But that's for the original music, and now how does the actual music that you listen to while you play the game hold up? And well, the obvious answer for that is that it holds up pretty damn well, with a great classic rock station, an alternative rock station, 2 rap stations, and even a good country station, which I think this was a first for the 3D GTAs. And then there's even extra stuff like a house music station or a talk radio station or the user track player, which allows you to insert your own music to the game, regardless of whether or not it's era appropriate. And well, that concludes the music as well as the entire review as a whole. And I do admit I probably didn't go into as much depth that this game probably deserves. I am perfectly fine with just scratching the surface of it, especially since, again, this is probably a game that we all have played before. But now I'm just rambling. Anyway, that's all I had to say about this game. So yeah, the huge sandbox being packed to the brim with missions and extra content, the 90s aesthetic. It's no wonder why this is still the best game in the series.
Can I take your order, please?
Carl, what do you want? You gotta eat to keep your strength up, man.
Hey, I'll take a number 9. Fat boy.
Give me a number 9, just like his.
Let me get a number 6 with extra dip.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda.